Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fleet's Random Ramblings, episode 120. Yes, we're back on the new and revised schedule, and hopefully, this time we can keep it going relatively well. Probably going for 2 hours tonight. Keep it nice and simple. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fleet's Random. Just keep going like that. Don't think it's going to be too much of a ramblings tonight. So we'll just keep it nice and steady. Timu Locker asks on Patreon, what's the oddest means of transportation the panel members have used? Cable cars. I think it's got to be cable cars. Because they are probably the oddest means of actual transportation that wasn't a gimmick that I have actually used. Like, there wasn't like it's like a going from nowhere to nowhere that was literally part of a commute. Or part of a mass transit system. That's the oddest mode of transport I have used. And then the next team question. Next Patreon question from Timu Locker asks. So we're dealing with the backlog right now. Is there particular board games such as Catan, Risk, or Monopoly you can play for hours only to realize the entire day has passed and it is already midnight? No. Not really, no. No, there's not really any game like that. That I can just play and play and play and play and not realize what time it is. It's not really. No. And the final Patreon question before we move on is from Brackman, who asks... assume you are now in charge of a North American public transport upgrade and replacement program. What would you do? You have full access to Canada, Mexico, and the US. Well, first of all, I'd need... This is all well and good putting me in charge of this whole enterprise, but there's one small problem you've forgotten. You've not put me in charge of the funding for this enterprise. And I can guarantee you that getting any level of funding for any level of realistic infrastructure work or upgrading from any of the three governments is going to prove tantamount to impossible. What you've basically created is one of those woozily transnational corporations backed by governments that's basically all talk because it kind of has to be. I guarantee you that Via Rail and Amtrak are going to dig their heels in and basically fight me on everything I want to try and do because they're going to want to keep their funding. The airlines aren't going to want to play ball across the board. And yeah, the people who build the interstates and the trucking companies, they're going to fight me all the way to the bloody bank. The most I can realistically hope to do is try and get Via Rail and Amtrak to play nice. Maybe work on some cross-border traffic. If I can. Maybe try and get some sort of combined Amtrak Via Rail and Mexican service to link Mexico City, various US state capitals, and Toronto as sort of a symbolic thing. Try and ease border crossings where I can. And other bits and bobs like that. But beyond that point, unfortunately, without control over the funding or directly cooing the government, beyond that, realistically, there's not so much I can do. Make no mistake, I can do a little bit, but I can't do the insane replacement program that I think the question wants, because it's not really feasible to do, and on a country the size and scale of the US, Canada, and Mexico, it's kind of a bad idea anyway. Right, so into the regular questions then. So, first things first. Start with a Discord question. Chandler on Discord asks, it's 1934, all the national leadership falls dead on the spot and are replaced by Gomez Adams. How does this change the decade? Well, first of all of the concentration camps immediately cease. And he probably immediately calls elections. Because this is the thing everyone forgets. The Adamses are genuinely nice people. Like, they're quirky within themselves, but woe betide that quirkiness ever impact anybody else in a negative way. It would kill them. The Adamses hate impacting other people if they can avoid it. And they don't like being in office. They back people. They don't sit in office themselves in positions of power. So I put it in the wrong spot. Whoops. Classic Fleet moment. Classic Fleet moment. It's fine. But yeah. So, yeah, basically, my best response I can guess would be he disbands the concentration camps, rounds up using what support he can find, keeps the government running until he can call an election so that he doesn't have to run shit anymore and can go back to living in his weird house with his stock portfolio and his family. Because that's how Gomez Adams do. That's basically the long and the short of it. He's basically 1934, all Nazi leadership falls down on the spot and are replaced by Gomez Adams. How does this change the decade?
Gomez who?
Gomez Adams, from the Adams family. Basically, he basically stops all the concentration camps, calls elections so he can fuck off out of there as quickly as he can, because he doesn't like being in a leadership role. That's basically it. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just that's the character. He doesn't want to be in a leadership role. He just wants to go back to his house and be with Morticia and the family, and that's about it. I mean, the one advantage of this is the Nazis are gone. So, I mean, yay. I mean, I suppose it depends how much he says when he means Nazi leadership. Do you mean the Nazi leadership or the army brass that were supporting them and anyone remotely sympathetic to the Nazis that could get into a position of leadership? Or do you just mean the big honchos? The Goebbels, the Goerings, the Himmlers. Yes, but it's hard to point out. Well, yeah, in that case then, Gomez Adams basically gets, if the other people are there, they immediately coup Gomez Adams with shocking rapidity. Because, make no mistake, even if the Nazi party leadership is gone, you've still got the German general staff that were backing them that want a lot of the same things they do.
Yeah, and if you start getting rid of them, then Germany plunges into civil war.
But if you've still got them, because they're not overtly Nazis, then they just coup Gomez Adams rapidly. And install a puppet Führer that they're puppeting. And things go on basically as normal. There won't be Hitler, but there'll be someone else who's a puppet Führer. And they'll probably keep doing the same things, because to be honest with you, even for a militaristic, non-Nazi German government, the Jews and all the other minorities are a lovely scapegoat. And
Yeah,
also,
don't ask how the German Empire treated its minorities.
yeah.
People tend to give Kaiser's leadership a lot of leeway, especially towards the
No.
Poles. Purely because they weren't Nazis.
Yeah, that's not how. Yeah.
Look up what happened to the South Silesians.
What 1961 asks? What are the arguments against the argument that the Tiger-class cruisers are the final victims of the unrealistic treaty limits and the US need to counter the Hawkins class? The Tiger-class are built in the 1950s, Knight.
Well, it could refer to a normal Tiger.
There are no Tiger-class built in the
actually,
1950s.
No. Let's rationalize this. The Tigers are converted town class hulls.
No, they're not.
Well, they're. I thought they literally were.
No.
They're the unfinished towns that were picked up and turned into Tigers with the offloading 6-inch.
Nope.
No, they were their own thing. Remember, we had this whole.
They were
thing we did with
entirely.
the Red Fleet
They
timeline.
were entirely unique built.
Yeah, we had this whole thing with when we did the
They
Red
were-
Fleet timeline.
They were built as an improvement to the Fiji class.
But then they were halted and then radically redesigned midway through construction. But
Okay, no, correct. I was thinking
why
of
are we
Blake.
talking about the Hawkins
Blake.
class
Yeah, Blake
and
was
the-
using
and
chunks
the-
of town.
and the treaty limits? I don't understand. Why are we talking about the treaties when we're talking about the Tigers? The Tigers are so post-treaty, it's not even funny.
But to rationalize this, to give it a chance, you could because the town class are a product of the treaties, right? And the design limitations forced on the Royal Navy by the treaties. We can agree with that, right? And the Fijis are
Okay.
basically war-built towns that are being cut down of everything they don't need in wartime.
Okay.
And the Tigers are based off the Fijis,
Mhm.
heavily modified.
There's
So
also
there probably is an argument that that entire design lineage is compromised by the compromises they had to make for the treaties.
I am going to point out. I'm going to point out the flawed reasoning in here. The unrealistic treaty limits when they
It's very
weren't.
realistic.
They weren't
Eh.
like 10,000
No.
tons for cruisers. That's 3,000 tons
Right.
above the largest cruiser currently extant. I'm sorry,
Right.
but
Not
They're-
quite.
no, I'm sorry. If you're going to bring up Dr. Clark's bullshittium 10,000 ton bollocks, I'm just going to shut you down.
What?
Like, I'm sorry. I'm sick of him bringing up bloody armored cruisers post World War One. It needs to bloody die.
That was a valid field of study that was actually looked at, so don't just say Dr. Clark's rubbish, because that is insulting to him and to a degree to you. Because that's just rude.
Yeah.
And
And
the fact that, no, relatively speaking, setting a 10,000 ton limit is quite unrealistic.
It really wasn't. 10,000 tons was
it
perfectly fine.
Is because as soon as you look at just what happens between 1906 and 1914, the displacement jumps of ships, it is very reasonable to assume this is going to continue.
I disagree. I feel like that the cruiser was
History
plateauing,
didn't disagree with you, though.
but it did.
Uh,
Like the
Like-
Hawkins were bigger, yes, but you would have seen the same gradual increase. I don't think you would have seen this radical jump that everyone suggests. Would cruisers have passed 10,000 tons eventually? Yeah, absolutely. But I
yeah,
don't
so
think.
the Royal
Right.
But I
Navy.
don't. But I don't
right,
think.
please.
but I don't think they would have been quite.
We can actually hard counter you there. Because from documentation that Dragon's going to get from the Town and Way archives, from looking through their online catalogue of what they have, the designs that they had post Hawkins was looking at between 12 to 13,000 tons for a Hawking successor.
Again,
The
that's
documents we can find for designing,
not. Again, 9 to
for
10,000.
what they're designing.
Yeah, Knight. Those
And
are the,
Which
I'm
is
going to-
12?
Knight. Those are the last
Also, I'm-
generations of armored cruisers. They're not
I'm
related
also
to the
going to
light
shut
armored
this
cruiser.
down by the Hawkings themselves weighed basically 10,000 tons.
In what world is that fact?
It's true.
They don't. They're 7,500 tons. I think 8,000.
Where are they 7,500 tons fleet?
I think they're what? At
Fleet,
most,
where are they 7,500
the
tons?
most 9,000 tons standard.
No. So standard displacement 9,960 tons.
Yep.
What
Deep
the-
load 12,300.
There's no way. Hawkins were much smaller than that last time I looked.
No, it's 9,800 long tons,
What the?
which is
Or
10,000
10,000
tons standard.
standard tons.
10,000.
Yeah, it
Cruiser
depends.
are-
It changed. It
I
changed
thought
depending on which
the
ship of
Hawkins
the
have
class.
always been 7,500 tons whenever I've
No,
looked at
they haven't.
You're thinking of the D class, isn't he?
them. No, I don't think
Maybe
so.
not even the D class.
Don't think so.
Uh,
Because as far as I was aware, the Hawkins were significantly smaller than that.
Because their D class are 6,000.
it might be thinking of the Emeralds. with the
Emeralds are
7,500.
7,500.
It might have been I might have been conflating the Hawkins and the E's, which in that case that is on me because I didn't realize the Hawkins were that big. I thought they were
Yeah,
I thought they were an outgrowth. To be fair, I
Yeah.
thought everything was a lot smaller, which is a simple confusion on my part, which would explain why I
Right.
said what
So-
I said.
Because
It's
the
fine, it
Hawkins designed successors gained 2,000 tons
See, in that case,
because
that's
their
fine. That makes more sense.
successors go for fully enclosed turrets.
See,
The Hawkins turrets aren't fully enclosed.
See, that's fine. I was operating under knowledge that was clearly out of date and probably conflated.
Yeah.
But that's
Also,
fine.
in general, I do think the treaties were unrealistic.
Honestly,
I don't think because again, just development of the past. Right. Well, even I know they're meant to try and reduce warship build races and such, but say if we go on the period from between when they are signed to 5 years earlier, you still see cruisers massively jump up in displacement.
I mean,
You see everything jump up in
I
displacement.
mean that's true, but I
I'd
would
like
point.
to counter you there, very quick, just
Go on.
quickly. The 10,000 ton cruiser limit was a valid and useful limit for the cruiser.
For right,
For
to
the
use a treaty
general
term, shall we
purpose
specify a
cruisers.
light cruiser?
Yeah, for the general purpose cruiser, which
That
is
I'll
what
agree with.
became known as the light cruiser.
I would. Right,
The
I will add a
heavy
caveat.
cruiser,
Which doesn't exist at this point.
I will add a quick
Well,
caveat if you don't mind, Foxo. It works for the 20s. I think after
and
the 20s,
30s.
Thing is, if you've locked in the general purpose cruiser at that point for the 20s and you're locking it in for the 30s, you've got a standard baseline. That it's fine as long as it's locked in. It's locked
I'm
in.
mostly Foxo looking at stuff like the town class, which you get in the 30s, which those are what you expect as a general purpose cruiser of that period, and that's sort of mid 30s. But so continue.
I won't say the town class of the general purpose.
No,
I
that's
would.
I'd argue that's more the Landers wheelhouse.
Yeah, no. The
Yeah, but
towns,
the Landers
Landers
are also
and now
the Landers are also 5 years earlier.
like the towns are counter replacements. The towns are counter replacements.
They're not.
They are. They absolutely are. They're just. They're
They're
just,
not. The
okay.
8-inch variant of the town is the county replacement.
No, it isn't. The British decided that they weren't interested in building any more first class cruisers with 8-inch
That's
guns. That's
Not
why the
true.
towns
No.
carried 6-inch guns.
Okay. Okay.
That-
No.
Not
Okay.
quite true.
The towns. Right. The Royal Navy in the 30s, after building the counties, realised that for the roles the Royal Navy needed it, and with renowned Repulsion Hood sitting around, they didn't need the 8-inch heavy cruiser.
That does not say they do not
And
want.
so, shut. The design lineage from the town comes out of the heavy cruiser design lineage of what if we built a light cruiser with a heavy cruiser tonnage allowance? Which is why, compared to other light cruisers of their period, the Town class are significantly more capable, because they're bigger. And by the treaties, they would have arguably been classified as heavy cruisers, not light cruisers.
Counterpoint: Brooklands.
The Brooklands are built at a similar
Same
time
period, but they are not built like heavy cruisers. They're not built from a heavy cruiser hull. Because for the record, neither are the Towns. The Towns are not from heavy cruiser hull, from the heavy cruiser line. If you want to say tonnage, that one can't say too much certain on, but I can say that no, they are very much focused more around a successor to the light cruisers of Leander. Is how you make a new generation ship.
Their armor protection layout, the roles they fulfilled, and for both the Brooklands and the Towns, I understand where you're coming from, but
the Leanders did the same roles the Towns did, so that's not really saying much. The Arethusers did the same roles the Towns did.
Yes, but the Towns could also
not really.
Yes, really.
No. The Towns could also be found doing things that the counties did, whereas you wouldn't find an Arethuser
but
doing that.
But no, the cruisers did what the cruisers needed to, which is cruise, escort, longer range missions, stuff like this, or being part of a group. Which we then see more stuff like the Med.
Yeah. But the fact is, the Town class was seen as being an equal to the Italian and the German heavy cruisers. The Leanders and the Arethusers weren't. They were seen as matchup against the light cruisers of the Kriegsmarine and Regia Marina.
And
the Town class cruiser was capable of doing the light cruiser role and the heavy cruiser role.
Yeah. And I mean,
the Towns can do both, the Leanders can't. That's the difference.
And I mean, also, let's also just go back to the Brooklands. Let's not forget when the US does choose to go for its next generation of heavy cruisers, they literally take a Brooklyn hull and swap the 15-6s for 9-8s with a little bit of reworking. If that doesn't show that the hull and the ship are basically able to do that role, I don't know what does.
Yeah. And so I think this is proof that the treaty cruisers are inherently compromised for the heavy cruiser side of things.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know
what?
Because
she's got a point. Cruiser to be able to do the heavy cruiser role,
10,000 tons ain't enough.
10,000 tons ain't enough.
10,000
tons for a light cruiser is.
I mean,
no. I still don't agree with 10,000 tons is enough, right? For the 20s, yes. Once you get past the 20s, no. Because, as much as I adore the Leander class, it is actually one of my favourite ships. You can very much see compromises had to be made to keep it within 10,000 tons.
The Leanders aren't 10,000 tons.
They're, right, if you go off to their full load, then 9,900, though. Which
yes, that's full load.
Great. Even 7,000 at 390, they were still limited because, admittedly, they more had issues with the other parts which came up.
Well, yeah,
but
no,
they were still limited in terms of what they could do.
Well, yes, but that's because they weren't
because of restrictions.
Well, yes, but that's because the British were trying to fit them into like okay, the Leanders are not 10,000 ton cruisers. Let's make that clear. Like the restrictions were completely arbitrary that the British chose to put on the class because they wanted more cruisers to spread across their tonnage, allowed to build quickly.
But then that's where I would also argue the treaties were unrealistic, tonnage allowance wise.
Well, yes, these were post
tonnage allowance hasn't come up in the question.
It's just Foxo. It technically it's just unrealistic treaties.
Yeah, that kind of encompasses all of it. It's been referencing the 10,000 ton.
No, it doesn't.
Thing.
But what
that was something that you actually brought up yourself. It literally just says, "Are the Tiger class the final victims of unrealistic treaty limitations?"
The problem I have with this is that I would argue that Leanders are arguably the perfect late 20s, early 30s treaty cruiser, and heck, just cruiser generally. Add about 1,000.
I would tend to agree.
add about 1,000 tons to them with no treaties, you could just build those and plop like 2 or 3 across the entire empire, wherever you want to go. And arguably, you shouldn't be building your normal cruisers as any naval power bigger than that. Because even without treaties, because then they become uneconomical to run and uneconomical to have everywhere.
Well, no, because that's where things change again. At that point, you then go back to a three cruiser system.
Wait, why? What's the point?
Because you've got your light cruisers, which are primarily escort and flotilla leaders, which Leanders and Aphusers were very good at.
Mhm.
You have your general purpose cruisers, which are the towns, that will quite happily throw hands with anything that's not a capital ship.
And then
Now,
basically,
if you're the US Navy, you want a heavy cruiser or the Alaskas that can throw hands with anything that's not a battleship. Or if you're the Royal Navy, you have your battle cruisers that can throw hands with anything that's not a battleship.
Well, if the USN didn't have, well, if there weren't the problem I have is that if there weren't the treaties, you wouldn't have Alaska-style crew. Well, it depends.
you actually probably would have them earlier.
It depends. Yeah. The thing I've always found is that anything that lies in this gulf between, for my personal opinion, anything that lies after about 1925 in this gulf between a fast battleship and a 6-inch cruiser is, in my humble opinion, wasted tonnage.
No, it's not. I'll give you one exact reason why. Because a full-part capital ship is a massive resource commitment. B, you send cruisers into environments you don't want to send a fast battleship in.
Yes, that's...
Or a environment where a fast battleship's not effective. I will bring it up once again. Especially for a sea control role. The KGVs, nor the Iowas, nor the South Dakotas, nor the Richelieus could have made Renown's run to the south for the Graf Spee.
Well, the Iowas absolutely could have done. Without a shadow of a doubt. Easily.
Not according to Battleship New Jersey, but
I mean...
I'll leave that in their hands because they're the ones that operated the fucking things.
I mean, look at what Missouri managed when she was recommissioned. She cranked out 35 knots for, what was it, 3 days? Continuously? She broke the speed record for large capital ships.
Sorry, I had to stop.
Okay, pedantic, right, that aside, your large cruiser combatant has a very significant role. I'm of the personal opinion, everyone at the Washington Naval Treaty got their idea of what a large cruiser is wrong.
I think that only makes sense in hindsight. No, that's true, Bowmill Boy. That is very true. That is very true. You have a good point there. I had forgotten about that. It depends on sea state, and they might have to get lucky. True. Yeah. Fair enough. But in terms of what you just said about the Washington Conference, I am gonna push back on that. It makes sense in hindsight, but not at the conference itself. Bear in mind
it makes
that
sense at the conference too.
Bear in mind, I know the British had plans for a series of large cruisers. And Dr. Clark has done good work on this. Bear in mind, when I said I wasn't keen on that nonsense, it's because I wasn't keen on it from a perspective of no one was moving towards 10,000 tons. And when I said that, I didn't know about
Hawkins.
the Hawkins. I was still operating under my what I thought I knew, which turns out, no, that was wrong. The Hawkins are actually 10,000 tons. So anyway, so putting that aside, because, shit happens, people get things wrong, it's fine. You think you know what you think you know, and then you don't know what you don't know. Anyway, moving on.
I'm going to make a quick counter here.
I'm not done. I'm not done. Hang on, I'm not done.
It's why you just had the pause, but fair enough.
Yeah. Apart from the British, who have this move towards significantly larger and more powerful cruisers, the Japanese and the United States are still very much looking at the 6,000 to 8,000 ton cruiser, and they have completely dropped the idea of the large, fast capital cruiser. The US has dropped the idea, and so have the Japanese. They've both shifted instead towards the idea of.
From the 20, we're talking 20s here, right?
Yeah, we're talking immediately pre-Washington, and during negotiations, they've dropped the idea of modern large cruisers. They are very much fond of the 6,000 to 7,000 light armored cruiser concept as it's developing. Sorry, 6,000 to 10,000 tons, I should say, since you do have some immediately pre-Washington designs that we would see evolve into what we know as the Pensacola's for the United States. And then the Japanese have their basically they're all following the British doctrine, but when it comes to light armored cruisers, but as far as I'm aware, they don't have anything that's looking toward. They're not even looking at the large, the larger cruiser because the Japanese basically can't afford to, because they are building out a massive force of proper capital ships.
Is this where I can say there is actually a counter to this? I'm afraid, Fleet.
Hang on, I'm not done. You can say that in a second, but just let me finish.
It's just you've missed a very important bit, but go on.
And the US just doesn't have any plans for significantly larger cruisers, as they're focusing on the Lexingtons and the Omahas as this sort of self-contained scouting fleet unit, and then they're working on they're not really thinking about trade protection assets. They're thinking about sea control rather than overseas work. They're thinking of operating out of the continental United States, maybe Hawaii, possibly the Philippines, in a direct interdiction / prelude to fleet engagement role. Now, obviously, this shifts in post-Washington, but pre-Washington, they're not thinking like that.
Yep. Able to counter?
Yeah, go on.
They are thinking about that. We actually know, even into the 20s, just before the treaty was signed, they are looking at designs between 10 to 15,000 tons, possibly up to 18,000 tons, for a large cruiser concept.
Yeah.
Iroh's actually sent me and Fox with them in the past, but we're talking years ago now.
Is this the Americans?
You guys were the Americans.
Yeah, the Americans probably were the ones that, if I wasn't aware of, I would probably believe would.
Well, then Fox will let me finish.
I just want to give credit to our friend Dyro. He got annoyed at us being wrong about something, so he went to the US Navy archives and got us the actual plans for them.
Like, this is literally a where is your source, Senator moment. Fair play to him. Absolute fair play to him. Like, that's just...
So we can say for sure that they exist.
Okay, fair enough.
It was also because it was another thing that it was like, okay, so now I've got two reasons to grab these for you. A, I just want to show you these because they're cool. But another thing, I'm afraid it gets worse for you then, Fleet.
At night, you do realize Furitaka is literally just what I was talking about for the Japanese. The Furutakas are the upper end of that light armored cruiser concept. That's what they are. They're not heavy cruisers. They're the upper end of this light armored cruiser concept.
So, Fleet. So bombshell number 2. It wasn't just the Americans and the British. We have designs from both the French and the Italians that they were looking at large cruiser concepts.
Now, the French and the Italians are arguably the ones I would expect it of, given that they haven't...
You just haven't mentioned them so far.
Yeah, because we haven't brought them up yet. But of all the nations... But of all the nations that I would say have the need and the desire and really should be looking at that, it is the French and the Italians. Simply down to the fact they need a modern fast wing to their
So,
navies. They'll be cheaper than
It's
building.
interesting,
They'll be cheaper than building full-on capital ships.
Right next.
And
it's very
basically,
interesting 'cause one of the designs, admittedly, is slightly post-treaty, but we know that it's part of a series that existed pre-treaty, which was meant to have 2 quad 12-inch guns at 17,000 tons.
at night, just because
Is that the
Knight,
French one?
Knight,
Yes,
not
it's the French.
Knight. Just because we're talking about a lot of the navies, that doesn't mean everyone in the world was looking at this concept.
No, basically, in particular, I believe it is actually just Britain, America, France, and Italy.
ironic-
Japan
Yeah. The
didn't.
Italians have the Japanese have weird ideas because the Japanese are wanting.
a massive
Okay.
fleet.
Oh, to understand why all these navies were looking at large cruisers, we've got to go back to the ships that originally filled this role. That
The
were
armored
called
cruiser.
battle cruisers. The battle cruisers are the final development of the armored cruiser. They are big, they are fast, they will quite happily sweep the seas clear of anything that is not a dreadnought. Can we agree that?
Yeah, absolutely.
As the I class did. Just ask the original Graf Spree with original Scharnhorst and Gneisenau how that goes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the
sure.
issue is, after 1912, the battle cruisers catch a disease. And that's called giganticism.
Yes, they do kind of go up in
Because
size.
in a matter of one and a half generations, they go from relatively economical 12-inch armed ships at about 28,000 tons at most
to basically being the fast wing of
to
battle lines.
HMS Hood
Yeah,
at 44,000 tons. And HMS Hood is incredibly capable for her time. The US Navy, we've got reports on them just going, how do we kill her? We get
Yeah.
lucky.
I think.
No,
think...
let me finish.
Okay, bear in mind, I'm going to agree
And
with
the
you.
issue is because battle cruisers have exploded in size, and after the Battle of Jutland, they need to be able to at least survive a conflict to escape with a full dreadnought capital ship.
Yeah, you can't just run away screaming. You have to run away
Yeah.
screaming and survive.
Yes, which means battle cruisers have gotten incredibly expensive and are now full-on capital ships.
Yeah.
You see the shift. Pre-Jutland, the Lexington prelims are all command cruisers and dreadnought armored cruisers.
Yeah.
After that, they're capital ships. They're fast capital ships.
Mhm.
However, that still left a vacuum of the large cruiser role
Yeah.
that still needs to be filled from
You basically have to get to basically what you're saying is, and what I agree with is, until you get to, you basically need to, when you start not having Tigers and you start having Hoods as the minimum bar for entry, you need something that's not going to break the bank every 5 seconds to build.
For example, Renown reports. Brilliant. With the clean of any cruiser, there's only 2 of them.
Yeah.
When the I-class swept the seas, the Royal Navy had 12 battle cruisers sweeping German colonial possessions off the map.
And they could do that. You could have one here, one there, one everywhere, and that one ship was more than enough to just go, no, this area is clear. I'm sorry, fight me, you coward. See what happens.
Yeah.
All I'm going to say is, if something like Emden encountered an Invincible,
Emden suffered
Yeah.
existence failure when she encountered bloody
a town.
yeah, and also that's not the worst of it. Emden could have encountered the Japanese large armored cruiser Izumo. Had
But she actually has a chance to escape. Then she has
No.
enough speed to run.
no, she didn't. She wouldn't have had at that point. She was so
I thought she
heavily.
was a 25 knot ship versus a 23.
Oh, she was, when she left Germany, and she was when she left Tsingtao.
Fair enough.
But
fair enough.
and also she was a 25 knot ship in Germany with light load and good coal. She is not capable of exceeding 22 knots at the time that she's found. She has bad coal that she took off an old Russian freighter, and her engines are rather heavily fouled. So her boilers are rather heavily fouled. Her boilers are rather degraded, and she's rather heavily fouled.
But back to my original point, the 12-inch battle cruisers were cheap enough that you could literally have 6 pairs in squadrons running around sweeping any enemy cruiser presence. Post-war, you've got Tiger and Lion that can do it, that are still in good condition. Renown, Repulse, and Hood. That's 6. And if you're building any new ones, you're building some along the lines of Hood. K3, Hood's successor. Or you're building some based off the Renowns. I can't remember their designation.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to do something that
Let me get back to my point of why you need the heavy cruisers.
No, I think you've made it.
That creates a role void.
Yeah.
That the large... I'm bigger than a general purpose cruiser. However, I count with an 8-inch or 9.2-inch guns. But I'm not fucking... to come in and do the job. That's the justification for it.
Very, very briefly, I'm going to throw in one thing before because it came up earlier. I mentioned how primarily it was the 4 nations: Britain, France, Italy, and America looking to.
Oh no, please! If it's send me a DM because if it's what I think you're about to say, you are about to steal my thunder.
Possibly, anyway, I'm going to mention 2 nations.
No, just send me a DM before you do it because I don't want you stealing my thunder.
There you go.
Okay, no, go ahead. Go ahead, he's fine. He's fine.
No, quickly, just to answer Chandler's questions. Princess Royal, after the Battle of Jutland and after World War I, was in incredibly bad condition.
She got ragged.
She hadn't gotten lucky like Lion and not taken a beating. But she wasn't built like Tiger, so she could withstand that beating.
Okay, I realised technically there's going to be one
other. Her frame was heavily damaged. And you don't...
Didn't she have some rather bad warping?
Yes. Her frame wasn't built to get hit by 12-inch gunfire, and it showed.
So, I will bring up the other 2, but I did tend to remember a 3rd nation, but that one I might be stealing fleets, so I'll leave them. There's 2 other nations that primarily looked at this concept. One, it never went anywhere. One, it sort of, but then died. Sweden and Chile. And one other country also looked at this, which I'm curious if Fleet's going to bring them up.
So, in order to do something rather funny and kill my own argument, in spectacular fashion, there is arguably the nation that actually invented the concept of the modern heavy cruiser before anyone else actually did, in terms of actually codifying the role of a ship built along light armored cruiser principles to kill 6-inch cruisers, was the nation that arguably you would not expect it from.
Hello, Austria.
Yeah.
This is not actually who I was going to refer to, but go on.
The Austro-Hungarian fleet, in about 1915, came up with the realization that in order to have a cruiser that could realistically live and survive on the modern battlefield of naval strength, you basically would need to have a ship that was resistant to 6-inch shell fire and could quickly and rapidly and brutally efficiently kill any 6-inch cruiser it encountered, and ideally kill 2 of them at once, and be easily fast enough to run away from anything bigger than it. So the Austrians went away, and they came up with this. A ship with 6 turreted, quick-firing 7.5-inch guns on a flat hull with a lot of recourse to speed, and very little that could be damaged or blown away by HE shells and splinters. You'll notice the almost total lack of superstructure and exposed things that could be set on fire.
So
And do you want to know how big these ships were going to be? With early design calculations? Because this really kills my own point in a kind of funny way. About 10 to 12,000 tons.
there's a okay, so I'm gonna bring up the other mission. I did think-
And Fleet kills his own point better than anyone else ever could.
Well, I'm going to bring up the other one then, since that's not the one I was expecting you to bring up. Another one that shoots your argument down in burning flames.
Oh, come on, I already did that. Like, it's going down. I'm watching it fucking crash.
But this is one of your other favourite nations shooting it down.
Oh, boy.
The Spanish.
Yippee!
The Spanish looked at a cruiser killer concept in the 20s, which was designed to take on any enemy cruiser that they found. There's various ones. Final one that we see is one that they then relook at in the 30s, which was planned to have 12 8-inch guns.
Again, this is part of the whole Spanish doctrine that I keep referring to, of the need to have a rapid mobile force made up of powerful mobile ships that can take on anything that isn't a capital ship, that's then backstopped by a small force of slower but more powerful capital ships. AKA, this is why the Hispanias stick around for so long, and it's why the Canarias class are bought. It's to maintain this fast, powerful roving force with something that it can then fall back behind if it encounters something big and nasty. Because, yeah, sure, Renown is a nasty ship. Make no mistake. I'm just using her as an example. And sure, she might chase a Spanish cruiser squadron of 2 Canariases back to Spain. But if those Canariases then join up with 2 Hispanias, Renown's got a choice. So, Renown's got a choice. Renown is a powerful ship. Renown is a powerful ship, don't get... Would you let me finish, Foxo? Renown is a powerful ship, don't get me wrong. But, unfortunately, 4-on-1, yes, the Spanish ships are less powerful and older, but I'm sorry, that sort of engagement is the kind of thing where the luck tends to favour the one who has more numbers. Renown basically has to continually get lucky to not lose something incredibly vital.
If you had chosen any other ship that wasn't Renown, I would agree with you. If you had chosen a Deutschland, or even one of the older battle cruisers, I would agree.
No, even Renown
But
is
Renown's a really bad example there.
She's not powerful enough.
Because anything there, she outranges.
But how long? Yeah, but the outrage.
And she outruns anything.
Well, yeah, but that's fine. The Spanish are looking to retire anyway.
Yeah.
So
it becomes a case of, okay, the Hispanians are here now. We've got bigger, slower targets to shoot at.
Yeah, but the whole point is that with it being 4-on-1, Renown will probably retire. That would be the correct and logical thing to do. You don't have the...
Yes, but that's not what Doctrine says to do at this period.
Yeah, but the problem is Doctrine...
And that's not what her captains did when she was in that situation.
The problem is there's a difference here. It's one thing to go up against 2 ships at once. Listen, if it was just the 2 Hispanias, I'd be like, yeah, I'm with you, Fox. I'm 100% with you. She'd take that fight. If she took Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, she'd take the Hispanias. But it's just when you've got 4 hulls to shoot at, and you can only realistically pick 2. At that point, it becomes too risky, because what if the Canarias break off and attempt to close?
Then Renown pulls back slightly, and because remember, Renown also outranges the Hispanias by almost 30%.
You get what I mean, though. You understand what I'm driving at.
Yeah, from maximum elevation. Which is why I think Renown's a really bad example, because...
But, okay, so just...
Yeah, but if it was a Deutschland, I would agree.
And if it was one of the Italian battleships as well?
No.
No, the Italian battleships aren't really going to do that either.
The Italian battleships? You run into the issue of... Especially after rebuild, they are incredibly capable.
Not capable enough to fight that force. Not 1v4. It's not.
Yeah, they are.
No.
It becomes a range issue again. Because Julio Cesare and the other one significantly outranged their Hispanias.
Yeah,
And they're faster than the Hispanias.
Yeah, the problem
which means the Hispanias can't close into effective range.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Yeah, the problem that we've got is that the whole thing that was supposed to bring this doctrine together was a planned refit for the Hispanias that was supposed to give them better directors and significantly increase the elevation of their main guns, which would have then brought this whole concept together as a viable, rather than just being a doctrine practiced in theory, it would have brought it together in practice while the Spanish waited for new capital ships to replace the Hispanias as their 3-ship, oh shit, the cruisers are in trouble, quick, go out and save them, force. Unfortunately, this wonderful thing called the Civil War happened. Yay!
Yeah, but and I think the bigger issue with that entire idea is they massively underestimate the lethality of a lot of armored and battle cruisers.
Armored cruisers are basically not really much of a threat to the Hispanias. Not if we're talking pre-World War One.
No. I meant more for that to come off, the cruisers have to survive long enough for the Spaniards to come out.
This is why it only really works with the post-World War One Spanish cruisers, the plus 30 knot ships they build. With those, you have enough speed that if you're quick enough, you can build up enough headwind to stay at, oh shit, they're shelling us, but they're unlikely to hit us range for long enough to get away. Like I say, the doctrine itself is in theory sound, but like you say, you are quite right. It does depend on a lot of luck. It does depend on, are you seen first? And obviously, there is always a chance that the Canarias class are having a whale of a time. And oh fuck, it's Rodney with us.
Yeah, no, it's more. I think I'll put it the same way in Drax's recent video. He described the High Seas Fleet.
Yeah.
A really good idea in isolation.
Yeah.
An absolutely terrible idea in context.
I would disagree with that. It's a good idea in principle and practice, but the Spanish never had the ships they needed to carry it out. They always had bits of it. Like in 1919, they had the cruisers, and I think the only time they ever really had it was when they had in this brief period post World War One and pre Rift War, where they had all 3 Hispanias and they had 3 to 4 of the most modern cruisers in the world.
I'd say in isolation, you're correct. And that's where the context comes in it. If you're Spain in the 10s and 20s, who's your naval threat?
The Spanish were basically looking... The thing with the thing you have to bear in mind with the Spanish Navy, post-American... post-Spanish-American War... As far as they were concerned, their goal now was just nobody fucks with what's left of the Spanish Empire and Spain proper. And that meant that they had to be a realistic threat to, at some point, at some issue, everybody. That's why the Hispanias were procured. It's why they built these fast modern cruisers. It's why they always aimed to have some of the best cruisers on the planet if they could, even if they were in smaller numbers. This is the thing. As far as Spain was concerned, their naval threat was basically could be anyone at any time. So they had to be as realistically threatening at various levels of the escalation ladder as they could be. You're making the mistake I just described.
You're talking about in theory. I asked you about in context of their actual situation. Well, who's their naval threat? Because yes, Mexico could decide it's going to build a navy and attack the Spanish Riff.
That's not.
But that's not a. No, but let me finish. That's not a realistic threat.
What Mexico... made you think I was talking about the Mexicans? I was talking about the great naval powers.
That was an example of a practical. Mexico isn't the threat they're fighting to fight. They're building to fight. Sure, Mexico could, in theory, come after Spain, but it's not going to. I don't
understand how you got there. My brain's confused.
Right.
I said that they're...
Right. Yes, and that's why I asked, in context, for Spain's situation in 1918, which navies are gonna pose a threat to their colonial possessions?
Probably Italy and France.
Italy, France, and the Royal Navy.
The Royal Navy, not so much, because the reason for that is the Royal Navy is just, there's no realistic way. Either A, the Royal Navy is not interested, or B, if the Royal Navy is interested, there's literally nothing the Spanish can do.
Hence why I didn't ask who could you practically fight. I'm saying who would come after you
Italy and France.
in the wrong situation. Italy, France, and if you engage in cruiser warfare, probably the Royal Navy. Because the Royal Navy, you start taking merchant ships, there's a good chance you take something that's British, and the British don't like that.
Yeah.
So, against the French, the Spaniards work, because the French dreadnought fleet is fucking appalling.
3 of them versus 1 Corbeil or even a Britannia. Heck, they might even outrange them. I think the Spaniards have more elevation than the Corbeils and Britannias do prior to their
But the
rebuilds.
Corbeils and the Britannics have high velocity guns, so it's about the same.
No, actually. I don't think it is. Because
not.
the Canarius class have actually... I think the Canarius got the nice 12-inch guns. They got the 50 cals. I think. So not Canarius, sorry, the Hispanias.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that doctrine actually probably could function against the French, provided the French don't build one of their monstrous "we swear these aren't battle cruisers" proposals.
Mm,
That are the ancestors of the Dunkirks.
yeah. And you've also
Which
got...
makes you want to throw up because they're fucking disgusting.
Disgusting.
And ironically, Dragon, do you have a picture of the one that's in World of Warships?
Yep, too
should
long.
we-
Yep.
Yep.
Well, he's going to show that. Yeah.
And so, I get turned here a teaching moment. And so, you can plan to fight the French. Although that's going to be a land war. The Italians, they're the ones that doctrine falls apart against.
Until the... No. I struggle to see how. I mean...
Because the Italians have, for their time period, very capable super dreadnought battleships.
The Italians don't have any super dreadnought battleships.
There's Julia Cesare.
They are not
Or
super
am I thinking of
dreadnoughts.
her post-rebuild?
No.
I'm thinking of post-rebuild.
No, they never were They were never super dreadnought battleships. They were late second generation dreadnoughts. They're not super dreadnoughts. To be a super dreadnought, one must have gun bigger than 12-inch.
13.5 inch.
13.5 inch is usually the agreed upon. 330, I think, technically also.
Yeah, it's basically
As a
it's basically you must be bigger than 13 to ride. In essence.
Yeah.
How did we get here?
Julia
Well,
Cesare.
this question kind of rambled off the rails. Hey, we're back to form again.
Okay, oh yeah, no,
To be
sorry.
fair, the Italians
I-
were building super dreadnoughts.
They were, but the Giulio Cesares were.
They just never finished them.
The country different cavals with the out. I keep thinking they've got 30.5. No, they've got 12.5. And you got no, they did build the Andrea-Dorians though.
Andrea-Dorians are 12s.
But they're not
Are they?
really considered. Yeah, they're not considered super. The Italians never built anything with larger than their initial.
Wait, no. Okay, now I'm getting my ships mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Andrea-Dori get their guns bored out, don't they?
Yes, later they do.
Yeah. So I was thinking of the bored out versions. Never mind.
On the other hand, they do have a lot of 12-inch guns.
And you sort of run into that issue of the Italians have a very capable cruiser force.
dear. I mean, well, that kind of
Yeah.
I feel
The,
like we
the
did.
Italian cruiser forces are fast and capable.
Whilst I am enjoying this question, having experienced the whole "can we move on" from the audience perspective over the last 2 weeks, I'm
Okay.
gonna say we should probably move on. Knight's question has that was a good 45 minutes, wasn't it?
But I do like talking cruisers because I get to explain how battle cruisers work in functionality.
I mean, to be frank, the whole 1850 to Washington Treaty is my area of special interest when it comes to ships. I'm not so much interested in post-Washington. I am very interested in that sort of in this whole sail to steam to iron to dreadnought period.
Yeah, he likes his ships to look like members of the Habsburg dynasty.
Funny. Typical Gunner Officer asks, opinions on the Vickers 40mm S gun. Do you think it's better than the 75mm gun on the B-25 for a large aircraft cannon, since it's faster firing and more reliable than the 75mm? Two entirely different beasts. The 40mm S gun was a dedicated tank hunting weapon.
No one
Yes, it was.
Submarine.
Sorry.
is ASW. It wasn't a tank killer, it was anti-submarine.
Am I thinking of a different 40mm?
No. You're thinking of the 6-pounder put in the Mosquito.
Yeah, sorry, I am. Yeah,
that was
sorry.
an anti-tank gun, put it into a plane
Yeah,
for
yeah.
ASW work.
Yeah. Whereas the 75mm on the B-25, whether you're talking about the versions that we used against land target, well, basically, it was basically a general purpose anti-everything weapon, as opposed to a dedicated anti-submarine weapon like the S-gun was. You wouldn't realistically use an S-gun equipped aircraft against a ship, because the attack profile you would need would render you horrendously vulnerable.
So actually, interestingly enough,
Oh god. Here we go
technically
again.
speaking, it was initially initially looked at being used as an anti-tank gun in North Africa,
Oh,
but it never was.
oh, so I was
First
partially
people to
right.
actually use it was Coastal Command, who looked at it and went, "Yeah, this is an anti-sub gun."
Oh, so I was partially
Well, no,
right.
if you really want it, it's an anti-aircraft gun,
Oh, okay, fair enough. I mean,
which, as what's called Wellesley's pointed out, is a defensive gun.
oh, I mean, you know what? I'll take what I can get. Hey, I'll take what I can get. A win is a win. A win is a win. A win is a
It's
win.
just it's a gun that did not know what it was meant to be. But it did good in all but its initial purpose. Because 40mm defensive armament for bombers doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. No,
Unless
it
it's a
doesn't.
B-52.
They didn't use 40 mils.
No, they had 20mm. They had either quad 50 cals or 20mm rotary.
It was considered for him. And they shut it down.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's a silly idea.
Bone Mill Boy
Nonsense.
asks, what if Britain kept Majorca?
No, we didn't answer the question. Like,
We did. We gave our
Okay.
opinions on the Vickers 40
Two entirely different types of guns.
Yeah, two different
So
types.
not really.
They are.
And it
While
it
yes, they both
existed.
can do anti-tank rolls, I would argue the 75 on the B-25 is not very good for
Well,
its intended
because
purpose.
they weren't used to bust tanks.
They were both used for ASW work.
Well, no,
And
the
they were both-
75 was the 75 wasn't just used against submarines. They were used for convoy raiding as well.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
whole yeah.
But one
The
thing,
same
you know,
way Typhoons equipped with the S guns went after S boats.
Did the Typhoons use that?
anyway,
Or am I thinking
One
of the
is
other
a-
40 mil
That's the
that was on the
other
Typhoon?
one. I'm pretty sure.
one's an mechanically automated gun, and the other one's literally a howitzer mounted on a plane. You have to manually load that thing.
If you want a
And-
more amusing one, look at the XA-75.
Yeah,
But I would argue that for the role they found themselves in, the S gun was better.
Anyway,
Because
right.
aiming out of an aircraft a pain in the ass.
Yes, it is. Right. So if so Bumbleboy asks on YouTube, what if Britain had kept Minorca? How does this affect World War One or Menorca? How does British affect World War
Majorca.
One? No,
Majorca.
that's a different island. Menorca, and Majorca are two different islands. Yeah, they're two different islands. We're talking about the small one.
Majorca's the big one.
Yeah.
Menorca's the small one to the south.
Yeah. Minorca is the even smaller. Anyway, so what if Britain kept that island? How does it affect World War One, the Spanish Civil War, World War Two? In terms of World War One and the Spanish Civil War, apart from being useful for neutrality patrols and maybe getting occasionally bombed or strafed by very egotistical and eager Republican or nationalist aircraft, I don't see too much. And in World War One, maybe you might have some ships coaling there, maybe, and things like that, but not really too much. In terms of World War II, oh boy, you've just given the British another way to project air power and defend their convoys. And heck, you might even be able to do regular, reliable air supply into Malta, because now you have an airbase that's relatively safe, from which you can land and recover large transport aircraft of a kind that you would need to do that, because then you can do, your run can go UK, Azores, Gibraltar, Minorca, Malta, and out and back again. Because without that final stop, you can't carry the load of fuel you need. You can't carry enough of a load of fuel with reserves to do that run. And also carry cargo.
Put a couple of medium bombers on that island. Suddenly,
Oh yeah,
the
there's that as
Italians
well.
is like, how do we get convoys down to North Africa now?
Oh, and also you can also base things out of there rather than Malta. So, for example, instead of basing the submarines out of Malta, you can free up space in Malta for other assets, or you can base things. Like there are so many. It basically just advantage Royal Navy even more heavily in the Mediterranean, in essence. But apart from that, not really too much more than that.
It's also going to be a hell of a liability.
I don't think it'll be a liability, but
No. Like
It's
Because-
extra resource you have to commit to defending.
Well,
But
it's not
it's
that.
also-
A part of the reason Malta is what it is because the British were sitting on about 2,000 years of constantly expanded fortification. The defences of Malta
back in a sec.
absolutely massive. And the Italians, even before the war, figured out that you weren't doing a contested landing on Malta unless you flattened Valletta.
Hence why the Valletta
if you-
flattening started happening.
Well, I'm more talking you bring up the Littorals and have them sit there for a couple of months blasting. Because the old fortress of Valletta was pretty much undamaged in fortifications from the bombing raids.
Yeah.
The old knightly fortress had suffered minimal damage. And was built into bedrock.
Yeah, the Ottomans couldn't break the damn thing. What a chance have the Italians
Yeah.
got?
And the Ottoman and the Italians knew about the Ottoman campaign. So Malta had been a part of the Italian loose confederation when last time it had been put to siege. And yeah, you do not try and take Valletta from the land side of Malta.
No.
Because two
No.
massive forts in the major ports, and the rest of it is a defender's paradise. Hence, there's literally hundreds to thousands of years of tunnels dug under Malta. Because it was the home of the Knights Hospitaller. And the bulwark against the Barbary pirates.
Yeah.
Minorca doesn't have that same level of fortification.
But what it does, but that can also work in its favor, given its location.
It's also significantly closer to France.
It is, but it's not so close
No.
that. But it is, but it's not so close that the Germans are going to be able to pull off a Crete. It's not.
It is. Well, it's in range. What the Germans believe their range was.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to see them
And
try.
Minorca is a lot flatter. It's a lot harder to defend. There's no large-scale fortifications there. So, unlike Malta, where even the British knew, and the SAS pointed out that trying to land on there with paratroopers, you're going to get your men killed.
You basically would have to, in order to do a paratrooper landing of a significant scale, you would basically have to go for gliders, and you would have to, and hear me out, don't trip me down yet, you would basically have to infiltrate a vast force of about 100 to 200 men, SAS or SBS or some equivalent, onto the island with kit to clear a field and mark a field for those gliders. Because you ain't getting anybody ashore any other way.
Yeah, and you've got to figure out a way to deal with the Royal Navy that's in harbour.
Mm-hmm.
And also assuming, go ahead.
Yeah, Minorca, it doesn't have that level of fortification. So it's going to have to be a much larger commitment to hold. And as much as I don't think the Germans could pull it off, I could definitely see them trying Fallschirmjäger on Minorca. Especially after they've seen the British basically disintegrate on Crete. Hell, the Luftwaffe would probably try and threaten Minorca to us a second Battle of Crete style situation. And for those of you who don't remember, the Royal Navy lost a significant portion of its Mediterranean cruiser force, including a town-class cruiser in Crete.
I don't think Minorca's going to be takeable the same way Crete was. It's just...
But it's vulnerable enough, I think they could try.
I don't...
To be fair, there is one advantage Minorca would have over Crete.
A lot easier to defend in terms of modern warfare.
Well, no. Minorca would have been in British hands for a good while, unlike Crete. There would have been installations that the British could absolutely erect to ensure something like that couldn't occur. Hell, if the British just drop a radar station on Minorca, that pretty much puts the entire airborne operation into a very, very shaky legs.
Yeah.
Just imagine the British put a radar station there, they see a giant wave of things coming in, sortie fighters.
Yeah.
You now have an airborne operation that may or may not be intercepted.
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
That is one advantage. You don't know what the British could build on Minorca during the period that they held it, as opposed to Crete, where... Well,
Crete was basically a kitchen sink approach. It wasn't...
Crete is just basically, here you go, please do something with this. So there is that small advantage of...
Yeah.
They could absolutely do something about the defense of the island.
Yeah.
Over a much longer period of time as opposed to Crete.
Yeah.
However, you have pointed out many, many important things. Like, they are definitely within range of a paratrooping operation from France.
Yeah.
Or hell, if they really want to, they could try to fly all the way from
no, they are not within range of a paratrooper operation from France. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and you've also got the issue of Spain allowed limited garrisoning of German troops, including Fliegerkorps X. If you amassed, say, in Palermo on Majorca, the Big Isle, it suddenly becomes very easy comparatively to hop across.
There's no way Franco's going to agree to that. Absolutely no way.
That would indeed cause a much larger international incident than suggested, but that is definitely a way Hitler could just go around the issue.
Yeah, he'd have to lump it with the Gibraltar proposal, and knowing Hitler, he probably would, and it would probably get rejected all the same. Remember, Franco was offered multiple times an invasion of Gibraltar with basically the Germans doing all the work, and he said no. For quite obvious and valid reasons.
But also remember, there was a Luftwaffe province in Denia, south of Valencia.
Yeah, that's different.
That flew against the Royal Navy and
Yeah.
run in the Western Mediterranean. So
yeah, it's one thing. It's one thing in an era before absolutely widespread radar coverage to plausibly deny that aircraft operated from a certain base and the aircraft that attacked your ship came from there. It's one thing to plausibly deny that. It's entirely another to mass several airborne divisions on an island that are basically impossible to miss, and is basically the only way to have the range to do the glider and airborne operations you would need to do to land on the island that you're going to invade. It's just no.
But the issue becomes, okay, the British have noticed it. What they're going to do about it?
They will...
Because the British aren't going to go to war with Spain to get the Germans out.
At
the time we're talking about this, at the time we're talking about 1941, 1942. The British are not in a position to go to war with Spain.
They absolutely are.
No, they're not.
The
Not
Spanish
without taking a hit to other positions in their war.
Not really. Gibraltar's not going to fall no matter what the Axis throw at it.
Yeah, but okay. But here's the thing: the Royal Navy is blessed by the fact U-boats, even on the French coast, have to go through the Bay of Biscay. That they have to do on a surface on slow speed, which 42-43 massively helps ASW patrols. Move the U-boats down to the Spanish coast, you suddenly have a clean, straight shot in deep water into the Atlantic.
I mean,
you also have the issue of a lot of convoys will now have to avoid Spain's waters.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
And then you got the fact that you've also opened up one of the largest port cities on the western seaboard to German shipping. Seville. One thing Spain has going for it in this period is Seville is still a massive port owing to its colonial legacy.
I mean...
And now, do you really want to park Force H in Gibraltar?
I mean, look. Anyway, the point. Also, I am going to point out that no, you thought so. Yeah, I'm sorry, but you can't just. There's no way Franco's going to agree to it. There's no way the Germans can mass those forces. The British will sink those forces in transit. There's no way that the Germans are going to be able to even mass that force on Palma. It's just not happening, and there's no way Franco's going to agree to it.
Well, it depends.
No. There is no. It depends.
The North Sea convoys got through. And it could quite literally be a thing of the Regia Marina starts doing shit in the Eastern Mediterranean, causing the Royal Navy to concentrate to buy a window in the Western Mediterranean to pull off an operation like this.
It fundamentally doesn't matter. Franco's not going to agree to it.
Like what happened with Crete.
It's fundamentally not going to matter. Franco's not going to agree to it. It's never going to happen.
Unlikely. Don't say never.
No, I'm going to say never. It's not going to happen. I'm going to categorically say never, because we know exactly what Franco's thoughts were on any such operations operating out of Spanish territory, and his thoughts were absolutely not. No plausible deniability, no Axis operations out of Spanish territory, and that's the way it was. Simple as that. He wanted nothing to do with the conflict. Because as far as he was concerned, Spain wasn't in a position to get involved, and even if it was, he didn't think he'd be able to do enough of the fighting to get anything out of it for Spain, because he was under no illusions the sort of nations he was throwing his hat in with. He knew full well that in order to actually gain anything, he'd have to fight for it. Otherwise, he wouldn't get it.
One counterpoint to that, though. Horthy said the exact same thing in Hungary.
What?
And look what ended up in Hungary.
Hang on. No, Horthy's government is different to Spain. Entirely different. It's not the same thing at all. Horthy joined the Axis, joined and cooperated with the Axis purely for Hungarian benefit, and then joined wholesale when Germany was winning wholeheartedly. Along with Romania was a more reluctant member of the Axis, but Horthy's government was basically in as soon as the Axis started to give them nice things. It's entirely different from Spain. There's also the fact that Horthy's government was exceptionally revanchist in a way that the Spanish government just was not.
Yeah, but he
We're not-
also showed
Wellesley-
a massive amount of resistance in going into against the Soviet Union.
Yes, but
Anyway, next question.
yeah. You're not being ignored. We're just... Wellesley, do you want me to answer questions properly or not? Genuine question. I've been on the other side. I know what it's like when things are rambling on. I get it. But at the same time, you kind of have to let the panel talk. I've been on both sides. You're not getting ignored. We're just doing ramblings the way ramblings is. You know what you signed up for. This is the show.
Yeah. I thought you don't want to get the Bulgaria treatment, and that's being dragged into World War II kicking and screaming.
No, Bulgaria basically Bulgaria basically just sat there and then went, right, Germany's losing, we declare war.
Yeah, but they got dragged kicking and screaming into Greece, where Germany basically went, you help the Italians or else.
Yeah, and then they went, oh, we help.
You go in on Yugoslavia or else.
Yeah. And the Bulgarians like, okay, and the Bulgarians went, okay, we kind of wanted to anyway, so we'll help. And then as soon as those operations, they went, right, we're done. You guys have fun. We'll help. We'll control partisans in our own territory. We're just gonna sit here. Okay, the Russians are coming.
By control partisans, he means commit ethnic cleansing.
Yes, that is exactly what I mean. And then they went, the Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Wait for it. Switch sides.
No, those are Romanians.
No, the Bulgarians did it as well. Everyone forgets this. The Bulgarians literally got handed an entire armored brigade worth of Panzer IVs, Stugs, and other assault guns and half-tracks, and then literally 2 weeks later, immediately switched sides. It's the funniest shit. Anyway, next question.
Yeah, and
Timu,
I just got to quickly add in Wellesley. It's like, just because it's a theoretical, and they didn't go with it IRL, doesn't mean they weren't plans and didn't want to do it. The same way the Fallschirmjäger were massed to go in on Malta should they ever need to. They never ended up doing it, but they were massed in southern Italy and Sicily for it.
Right. Timu Locker asks, if you had to do cosplay, what character would you be doing? I'm gonna be completely honest with you, as I always am. It's not on my radar at all. It's just not something I think about. It's not something I consider. It's just not on my radar, Timu. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It's just not. But I'll let the other members of the panel answer what they want to answer. But it's just not on my radar.
Eh? There's plenty of characters I'd love to. I don't have the body type for. One I would find highly amusing, though, would be one Seto Kayaba.
The only thing big enough to hold my ego is the blimp.
I've got my Blue Eyes deck, and I am ready to annihilate some fourth-rate duelists with third-rate duelists with fourth-rate decks.
Funny.
Back in a tick.
So this is annoying because I've got two, technically three. The first one, actually no, yeah, it would be three, technically four. First one would really, really be Belisarius motherfucking Cole.
Understandable.
I look goated in red robes, especially when I've got my red highlights in. But
If you don't say
tech
it,
priests are hard to do. Paul would be murder on my back.
if you don't say a certain fox spirit, I will be annoyed.
Come on. I have the issue of I don't have the figure for it.
So you have the
Really
same
don't
I
have
have.
the figure for it.
You
And
have
that's
the same as
Yaska.
You can look her up yourself if you wish.
Yaska from High School DxD. So, a runner-up from that one is, and this one I could actually pull off annoyingly, is Korinu. Her daughter, which, yeah, and last one, okay. The one from AL I would want Teemo has the same issue with Yaska. I can't do it, and I like blonde hair better than white because I don't have the figure for it.
Can we move on to the next question? Have we answered that one?
Quickly, because I haven't done my way yet.
Okay.
And that would be
Would you do sushi or nano?
Wait.
I can't do Sushi and Nano. Same issue as Yaska.
Wait.
Well, same
I
issue
would
with same issue with sushi.
Wait.
Exactly. That was
Timu,
where I
why are
probably
you
do
bringing
cut.
up DxD?
Because that was one of the characters that Foxo mentioned.
Which one?
Yaska?
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not sure you can pull that off.
That's why Foxo literally said it's the one she would love to do, but she can't pull off. But she would be able to pull off the daughter.
Yeah. Well, and from AL, it would probably be a Magi.
Oh dear.
I don't think you could pull a Magi off.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but a Magi is in the range I probably could pad it out. I can't pad out Shinano or Mushi.
Foxo, you are aware of a Magi's chest size, right?
Yes. I know what I
There
said. I
are
could
two-
probably pad that out.
There are tools to help with that.
Anyway, shall we
Right,
No
no,
way.
Done.
I've done enough cosplay in my time. I don't really particularly have a character I want to do since I've pretty much done most of them already.
That is what I was thinking mostly, but I didn't know if Foxo would go with that. Also,
I've
what's
done
wrong with Kaiba? What's called Timu?
the only
Like,
thing big enough to hold my ego is the blimp?
I mean, I imagine Dragon's probably tall enough to do Kaiba.
Like 5'11".
Mm.
I'm not too sure what Kaiba. I'd have to check.
Back in the days, I'd done a cosplay of Lelouch because I was told I
That's
was
a good one.
bony enough to do so.
I'm just a little bit too short for me, 6'1", but I can get pretty close to Kaiba.
It's cosplay. Sometimes you just have to ignore these things and just do it.
Or you just, wear slightly tall shoes. Like
Yeah.
Kaiba's shoes are nuts.
Heels.
Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen,
Okay, can I just do one
one more.
honorable mention. I would love to cosplay Red from Pokemon.
That's a good
Because-
choice.
Because I have crippling social anxiety at IRL. The ability to not have to speak for the sake of the cosplay, and I'm not being rude, it's for the cosplay, would be golden.
Dear. Right. Anyway, so. Right.
An annoying character.
Next question.
You have not read into him, Timu.
Anyway,
He is
Knight
Law got to his later stuff.
Knight 681 asks, as a Tiger class with 6 152mm Mark 26 guns and 12 76mm Mark 6A guns would have been a better ship if money wasn't a problem, what are the practical reasons to reject this?
There isn't.
There isn't one? There isn't one,
Because
given when they're
The Royal
built.
Navy want them.
But honestly, in hindsight, getting the Tigers we got was honestly no bad thing. It saved money that could be put into the glorious county class destroyers and the swarm of frigates that were the Leanders.
They don't give you anything the old towns don't.
Yeah.
They do actually far better anti-air performance.
Money. That's
Like,
always the problem.
significantly better anti-air performance, and also lower crewing costs.
Yeah, there
I
is that.
Yes, but
And you do
And
still-
they're not- and they're
what
not
Tiger
one-on.
and Blake would be really good
And
for
Ryan.
if Royal Navy had the money for it would be a missile cruiser conversion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put
They don't!
Terrier or Talos on one.
Yes.
Maybe put
probably.
the Blackburn Bloodhound on it.
Honestly, Terrier's a better fit. It's an easier
No.
missile to have.
Yeah, but I'd probably put at least 2 Talos launchers, one fore, one aft.
And to be fair, in the ship of that size, yeah, probably.
Because Talos and Terrier, you have 6-inch guns in the fleet. You have capable surface combatants in the fleet. You don't have a Talos capable combatant in the fleet. You don't have a ship that can sling near hypersonic telegraph poles that are incoming bombers.
Incoming projectile! Get yeeted, you
Yeah.
fucking Soviet bastard!
And if the British had the money, and I'd argue even if money was limited, getting in on Talos and Terrier, especially with the UK's special relationship, even at this point, would be incredibly useful assets for the Royal Navy.
Like, you can still
Even
have
once
Sea
the
Slug.
Falklands War comes up.
Yeah, like, you can still have Sea Slug. Like, the Royal Navy is going to need something that it can put on destroyers. And Sea Slug is absolutely that. So you're not removing the need for Sea Slug or the need to put money into Sea Slug. But what you are doing is giving something that is just basically a giant fuck you around a Royal Navy carrier group.
And 6-inch dual purpose. Good.
Yes.
4 Talos arms. Better.
2 6-inch plus 2 Talos arms. Good mix.
4 Talos arms. Anglo-American nuclear sharing deal after Violet Club. Best anti-airship in the world
Yes.
until the
Not to mention,
1980s.
If that thing, if that thing doesn't retire, it gets dragged out all the way down south.
Typical gunnery officer asks, what's my opinions on the Republic of China's domestic fighter jet, the FCK-1? How does it compare with the Japanese F-2, the rebel Chinese J-10, and the Korean T-50? In regards to the Republic of China's domestic fighter jet, the FCK-1, it's fine. It's a uniquely Chinese solution to a uniquely Chinese problem that they're having. They needed a capable modern 4th gen. They were struggling to get... This was a part of a period where Chinese-American relationships were a little bit degraded. And they were struggling to get... And the order for F-16s was currently in hiatus. So they put down the money to create a quasi F-16. They had to use 2 weaker engines compared to the F-16's single larger engine. But in the end, it paid off, and they got a fairly capable 4th-generation multi-role fighter, which has proven itself more than up to the tasks demanded of it by the Chinese Air Force. Now, in terms of what the Rebel Chinese actually have, the J-10, for example, the J-10 is naturally a superior aircraft because it's a significantly larger airframe that carries significantly more capability compared to FCK-1. But again, that's not really surprising. The mainland...
Yeah, considering the J-10 is a decade younger aircraft.
Yeah, that as well. Well, I was going to get to that bit, but I thought I'd get the size bit out of the way first.
Yeah, so because I just point out, from what I'm reading, the J-10 was to some degree a response to the FCK-1.
Yeah. And in regards to also comparing it to the other aircraft you've listed, the F2, again, is a much younger aircraft. Like, the Mitsubishi F2 is a significantly younger aircraft, and is also significantly larger than the F-16 it's based on, which a lot of people do miss. It's not an equivalent size airframe. It's actually a fair bit bigger.
It's not that much bigger.
It's big enough that it's noticeable.
It's 10% bigger, but overall, it doesn't change that much the actual aerodynamics of things.
And the T-50 is a light jet 4th gen.
It's a trainer.
Yeah, it's a light jet. It's a trainer with armament capabilities, kind of like the Hawk is. More capable than the Hawk, mind you, but still.
Yeah, because the Hawk's a 3rd gen.
Yeah, but same thing. It's a 4th gen version of the Hawk concept in essence.
Yeah, it's always funny when people bring up the Hawk in being in the 1990s and 2000s, and it's like,
my brother in Christ.
That airframe is so old. The Rhodesians were using it.
Rhodey Boos be like, ah yes, we exist.
Rhodesia be like, ah yes, trainer aircraft. Let's strap bombs to it.
Yes.
Well, if you want to talk about trainer aircraft strapping bombs to it, Fox, you've got the Hawk.
Yeah, Hawk Hunter.
Yeah. No. Hawk.
Oh, the Hawk.
Hawk. Like, Hawker Hunter was an actual fighter design. If you want to strap bombs to a training aircraft, or worse, air-to-air missiles, you've got the Hawk.
Yes. Bone Mill Boy asks, what lessons would the Japanese take if the Congos engage and destroy either Von Space Squadron or Goeben Breslau? How does this affect interwar naval developments in / perceptions of Japan? It doesn't. The world's most powerful battle cruisers body significantly weaker forces. Who would have fucking guessed? I'm sorry, but I know it sounds boring, but that's literally... You're talking about taking the world's most powerful battle cruisers against significantly weaker forces than them. The reaction would be no fucking surprise they body the hell out of them.
It confirms the reign of the battle cruiser on the high seas.
Yeah. Basically, you have the same effect as the I-class at the Falklands, right? So the Americans see it, and the Japanese think, oh shit, we need battle cruisers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Japanese is like, oh man, we spend our money wisely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Vickers had a point when they described our need for battle cruisers.
Yes. And oh, fuck me, these Congos are powerful. We were good to base them off Tiger, but make her even more powerful.
Oh no, other way around.
Oh yeah,
other way around.
Oh yeah, sorry, Tiger comes after the Congos. Sorry.
Tiger is Vickers going, see, Japanese want it, see, the Japanese want it, see, the Japanese want it. So why won't you take it?
And literally they're running over going, oh, for fuck's sake, fine, shut up!
But it was also the fact that Vickers went, see, we built these for the Japanese, and we figured out there's massive flaws in the Lion class. So don't build a second Lion, build a Tiger.
I do love Vickers sometimes. They are just this insane, shambling Goliath of a company that waxes and wanes between total brilliance and utter incompetence, with seemingly no rhyme or reason. Ah, dear.
Vickers was, in its heyday, a mega corporation. They
Yes.
did everything.
Timu asks, Fleet's favourite German pre-dreadnought battleship. Oh, that's really, really easy.
Berlin, 1881,
Hang on.
the coastal defense battleship.
No.
Damn, what did
I have a real soft spot for the Kaiser Friedrichs and Kaiser Friedrich Thirds and the Wittelsbachs, the 9.4-inch armed German pre-dreadnoughts, the first proper German pre-dreadnoughts, because they are so part of that era of Hail of Fire that I absolutely adore. And they would have been brutally effective ships in that era. Ridiculously so. In fact, I would arguably say for the era of Hail of Fire, when they're built and when they're in service, that's sort of the era of the ranges around Tsushima, the ranges that Tsushima was fought at. I'd arguably say that no ship on the high seas is their equal. Just, they're not. Because the British pre-dreadnoughts of the period don't have the same level of secondary battery that these two classes of ship have.
Secondary batteries are overrated.
Not in this period. In fact, I'd argue that they are the primary killing power of pre-dreadnought battleships in this period. And the 9.4s are very effective weapons with a decent velocity for the size of gun they are. And they are just they are powerful enough to hit through the belt armor of a lot of the ships they're going to fight. So
Not half bad looking as well.
yeah.
So next question.
And of course, let's not forget that when you get to both of these ships, they have a significant portion of their secondary battery in turrets, which makes them infinitely more workable than a lot of their contemporaries.
Yep. Okay, next question.
Oh, I wanted to wax lyrical about the Hail of Fire doctrine. Never mind.
You're bitching about me throwing the doctrine and exiting the question by 50%, so...
Yeah. Aaron
Next question.
Worsley asks, what is the best ace combat weapon or superplane? Gleipnir. 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 Gleipnir.
What?
Gleipnir. Gleipnir.
No.
Gleipnir. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, you cannot tell me otherwise.
Gleipnir dies in one shot.
I'm sorry,
But
but
ADF-X-01.
I'm sorry. Gleipnir is just...
Okay, did it include super weapons?
Yes.
It does include super weapons, so yeah, no.
Well, then
Gleipnir
you're
is
all
not the best.
fucking wrong. It's Stonehenge.
Yes,
No!
Stonehenge.
No, it
Yes, but-
isn't. I'm sorry. I want my gigantic flying boat armed with ballistic missiles and a giant
Okay,
fucking speaker on the
okay,
bottom
cool.
that's
Cool,
also
okay.
invisible.
Cool. I want my railgun array that can shoot projectiles 0.1 C.
I'll be honest. Stonehenge is definitely one. Like, Gleipnir gets shot down by a lot of stuff. Like
have
I
to
said,
you have to
ADF-X-01 would shoot down Gleipnir
You
with a
have
single missile.
you have to find it first.
It's not that hard.
You can't find what you can't see.
Yes, you can.
Look,
Okay.
it doesn't matter. There's only one super weapon in the Ace Combat world that is impervious to anything.
It's also a giant
The
floaty
Flying
boat.
Mute.
Yes, but that's which version of the flying mute do you want? There are several.
It doesn't matter. They're all Flying Mutes. Find a Flying Mute in your country, you win.
I love Gleipnir. It's
Okay.
just perfect.
Okay. I would like to also point out the high-end drone fighters from Ace Combat 7.
Yeah,
When networked together, they are, second to Stonehenge, one of the most capable super weapons. Because you train them off a flying mute, and they decimate any force that's not made up of mutes. And have you ever fought them on the highest difficulty? The 101s are nightmares.
I hated that mission, honestly.
Because they will happily turn themselves into Beyblades to dodge your missiles.
Beyblade!
For the record, Foxo and did do a full run of Ace Combat at 7 using only the F-104.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It wasn't for her.
Well, yeah, I know. But only fun to watch.
I also did a run of Project Wingman with only using the Avro Arrow.
Right.
That's actually
Anyway.
not as annoying.
Yeah. And,
And-
also, can I just have one
Okay.
thing?
Okay.
I would like to put an honorable mention for super weapons. And I know it's not technically Ace Combat, but there's 2 weapons I would like to bring in. One is Wingman, because the actual Wingman fighter is cool as fuck, and it's from a fan game. 2 is a bit more memey, but it's someone that could kill the entirety of anything in Ace Combat.
Mm-hmm.
The Orange.
Wouldn't actually do so. Ace Combat survived such a thing.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
But the Orange.
anyway, ignoring
graphics card.
ignoring the madman.
Mad
Knight
Man.
six- Knight-
Mad
no,
Man.
I'm who she's quoting. Anyway, Knight 6831 asks, would a Tiger class with 6-inch guns and 12 3-inch guns be a more accurate version of a budget 1947 Minotaur class, and were the OTL Tiger class a worse budget 1947 Minotaur class? Yes and yes. Next.
The next question?
Yeah, Knight, I'm really sorry about that, but Knight, I'm really sorry about that, I'm really sorry about that, Knight, but that is a question that literally includes the answer within itself, so I don't
Okay,
really know what you were expecting there.
Okay, honourable
Does it have to-
mention for Ace Combat super weapons.
Oh god, she's going
To
again.
quote Admiral Wellesley, the best super weapon in Ace Combat is the Ulysses 1994 XF-04 asteroid.
Clearly not, though, because Lone Hens managed to neuter it to such a level it wasn't a world-ending event.
Oh my god. Okay. Typical gunnery officer asks, what if the Heshemite Iraqi kingdom survived and the Iraqi Republic and Ba'athist Iraq didn't exist like IRL? What would happen after the Iranian Revolution of 1979? Which side of the Cold War would this Iraq be aligned, and would the first Gulf War happen? This Iraq would probably be part of a broader Western-leaning Middle East, probably aligned with Jordan. You might even see some form of Iraqi-Jordanian federation, as the Heshemite monarchy tries to prevent overall collapse of the states it controls, Iraq and Jordan. It's going to depend entirely on how the monarchy goes, but you'll either see them as two independent Heshemite kingdoms, or you'll see some sort of personal union / joining of the states into one just Heshemite kingdom of the Middle East, or joint Heshemite kingdom of Jordan and Iraq, or etc., something like that. Either way, both options are plausible. At that point, even then, both nations will be Western aligned. You'll have the Iraqis will be seen as a symbol of Western imperialism. Depends on, bear in mind, it's widely felt the Iranians were preparing to take the Shah's massive military and go on the offensive, which is why nobody was really pissed or bothered or raised a fuss when Iraq decided to throw hands. Because it was felt they were dealing with a problem anyway. And they basically sapped a lot of the pre-war Iranian strength everyone was so afraid the Iranians would actually use in a 9-year-long slugging match that left nearly 1 million people dead. So if that 9-year-long slugging match isn't kicked off by Iraq, then you might have this whole thing where Iran decides...
Then you might have somewhat worse.
Yeah, Iran might decide to export the revolution at the point of a sword.
They probably won't go west, though.
No, I didn't say Western aligned.
Yes,
I said Western
so
leaning.
you would get some more cursed than the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. You'd probably get an Iranian invasion of Afghanistan and Pakistan.
the Islamic Republic would invade fellow Islamists.
I don't know why that's surprising, but
No, I
One
know.
is Shia Muslim.
Oh yeah.
One is Sunni Muslim.
I keep forgetting there are different types.
Especially in the Islamist world, the Shias and the Muslims hate each other more than Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland.
It always
Like,
gets.
To be
Both
fair,
sides
Iran
of
is a
Iran-
big mix of different Arabs.
Yeah, and remember, both sides in the Iran-Iraq war called their war a jihad against the other.
I am not.
With both sets of with both caliphs declaring it basically a crusade against each other, which is a part of the reason it was so why both nations were
all-encompassing.
able to go to extreme, because yeah. And it's why both governments were able to justify what they did, because it was God's will. And the Iranians really didn't like the Pakistanis either, because the Pakistanis were kept supplying terrorists in southern Iran. Because this is before the Islamic Republic forcefully homogenized Iranian culture. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Pakistan. But as early as the 60s, Iran was having talks with India of partitioning Pakistan.
That would definitely be
And defining the Indus River as the border.
That would have been an interesting fight indeed.
Wait, in case you don't know, the Indus River is the historical border between the Hindu and the Muslim world. It would noticeably make places like Islamabad and Lahore a part of India, while Karachi would be part of, and Quetta would be a part of Iran.
that would definitely create an exceptionally cursed world.
Yeah. Right.
More questions because I want to get one or two.
Pakistan does have nukes by 1974.
No, it doesn't. No, it
But
doesn't.
it does.
No.
Their
Pakistan,
program
India
started in
in
72.
yeah, Pakistan.
India has the nuke.
Pakistan bleeds itself dry almost to acquire nuclear weapons. By the
It doesn't
90s.
get its nuke until 98, I think. That's its first test.
1998.
India is the one that actually has nuclear weapons already by the time we're
So
discussing about this.
Yeah. So it's the sweet navel that Pakistan can do.
Well,
Well,
there are a few things.
Quickly, Karachi is a part of Baluchistan. Well, depending how you define Baluchistan. Quetta is a part of Pashtunistan, alongside southern Afghanistan.
I mean, unless the Pakistanis and Afghanis unify, and if the Afghani government is brave enough to try and call on the Soviets for help, given that they are technically a communist state at this point, which would create an entirely new can of worms.
Yeah, it's welcome the Soviets to the forever war box.
Which would mean you'd have India and Iran versus the Soviets, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, with everyone else just looking on, going, "What the fuck?"
Well, because I don't think you'd probably see a massively neutered and Afghanistan in this situation versus an actual war.
You do have the issue of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because you've got the whole. A lot of people in southern Afghanistan aren't Afghan. most people in northern Afghanistan are Afghan. Afghan is a population group in Afghanistan. And Pashtunistan, even as early as the 1890s, has ideas about being part of Afghanistan. Which you can thank the British for.
Yeah, remember, there was a whole thing post-war where Afghanistan nearly invaded Pakistan as soon as it was no longer a British dominion to create a Pashtuni state with access to the sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
And
is the issue of
and the war was only narrowly avoided.
there is an interesting issue of if we're talking about this potential war in the 80s, Pakistan is a very, very close ally to the United States and China.
Well, that's going to create some... Well, so basically, we've got the Soviets backing the Afghans, the Chinese and the US backing Pakistan. India's... This is just...
India, superpower by 2020.
Yeah. The Russians are going to stop supplying the Indian Air Force with spares.
Why would they?
Because India's, helping to destroy. Yeah, it's just if the Russians are helping in this, they're just like, yeah.
Remember, India will be hostile to China. China is hostile to the Soviet Union.
Well, China is also hostile to India at this time.
Yeah.
It still is, obviously, but
So the Soviet Union now has incentive to align India with itself to contain China.
Yes, but
however, it would be interesting. That also results to a closer relationship between China and the U.S.
Yeah, and also then you've got, and then but the thing is, you're also forgetting the fact that the Iranians and the Indians, invading Pakistan and Afghanistan right now.
Just saying, this is Reagan's
It would
U.S.
more be because the thing is, in Afghanistan, communist government didn't control most of it. It was a bunch of warlords collected that technically abided by the central government in Kabul, but the actual control outside of Kabul was little to nothing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Wellesley.
So you'll probably just see the warlords going, "Fuck you, the Iranians are paying me better."
Yeah,
or the Pashtuns going, "Pashtunistan."
Yeah, I mean, Wellesley, a UN resolution to stop a war like this, there's going to be hysterical laughter in the UN Security Council.
It's going to be veto.
Yeah, Slayer, what makes you think Afghanistan is the one choosing to join? What makes you think they're the ones with any agency in this?
Because remember that Iran has gone Islamist at this point, with the Islamic Republic taking over.
There's no mad Iraqi dictator to go, "Hey, I'm throwing hands!"
Yeah, who wants to seize the southern Iranian oil. And remember that there is an ongoing Islamist soft civil war in Afghanistan already from the communist takeover. It's a civil war the Soviets get involved in has been going on since the communists took over. Because it turns out rural Muslim communities don't really like communism.
Yeah.
Nice. And you just end up with a shit show.
This is not a proxy war you want to happen, basically.
Yeah, and Pakistan's at this point is also losing friends very quickly. Because, remember correctly, in the 80s they're dicking about as well.
Not yet. That's a little bit later.
Wellesley, you're oversimplifying it. The problem is the Soviets have a problem. The Soviets' preferred partner in the Indo-Pacific is India, and has been for some time at this point, by the late 70s, early 80s. The Pakistanis are rabidly anti-Soviet, And it's one of the reasons why the Chinese and the US are so keen to back them. There is very little. There is very little chance, even in this case, of anything other than a cooling of relations. Rapprochement and alliance and support is just out of the question.
Well,
Pakistan is the intermediate between China and the US. So don't forget about that.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. Yeah, go ahead.
The issue that Soviet interest in the region, and it's why they go into Afghanistan, is to contain Islamism. Because the Soviets, in the 80s, and after the Iranian Revolution, realized that much in the same way the socialism and communism had spread like wildfire in their revolutions, that Islamism and Islamic revolutions spread like wildfire in rural, poor Muslim regions. What is most of Soviet Central Asia?
Yeah. But as I just said to Wellesley, like Iran being a thorn in the Soviet side in this particular world only lasts as long as they don't piss the Soviets off too much. The Soviets threw hands in Afghanistan.
To contain Islamism.
Yeah, and that was already a quagmire in of itself. Bear in mind, while Iran is bad territory, don't get me wrong, it's nowhere near as bad territory or as much of a supply hellhole as Afghanistan is. The Soviets...
It is. Oh, it is.
But let's also point out the Soviets have been in Afghanistan for a while now. They have learned. And they actually do. And this is the thing everyone forgets. The Soviets were actually beginning to turn the tide in Afghanistan. And now, and the only reason the Afghani tribes were holding on was because of a copious amount of US dollary dues. Now take a nation that doesn't have a copious amount of... Now take three factors. A nation that doesn't have a copious amount of US dollary dues. A nation that has a disorganized military and is somewhat fractious given its recent revolution. And a Soviet Union that has just spent nearly 9 years gaining experience fighting in that sort of terrain, and is exceptionally pissed off by what that nation is doing. In short, Iran's in for a very, very bad time.
Yes, but in return, the Soviets have gone from fighting in northern Afghanistan, which is pain and suffering, to fighting in northern Iran, which is even more pain and suffering. Because here's to point out, a significant portion of northern Iran doesn't see rainfall. A lot of northern Iran and the southern steppe, where the Soviets are going to be moving their way through, is desert hell. And then you go from desert hell into the mountains. And you've now got a much larger area to cover.
Mm-hmm.
With much greater weapon stockpiles.
Mm.
And a lot more people to start shooting stingers at you.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because you've also got to factor in Soviet doctrinal thinking. The Sino-Soviet split was a pain in the ass for the Soviets, right?
Yes.
Because the Soviet Union and a lot of communist thinking at this time period is, if we become weaker than the West militarily, the West will attack and invade to destroy communism. That's a fundamental part of Bolshevik theory. And guided a lot of Soviet foreign policy. This left with China, the Soviets in a very sore spot. Because they couldn't commit to any sort of war with China, because that would have the West marching east in Europe. But the Soviet Union also realized they couldn't march west because of Western nuclear weapons. And even if they win and are mortally wounded by that but survive, they've still got the big China-shaped problem.
Yeah.
And Iran might not be big enough, as big as China. But when the Red Army gets bogged down, and the Red Army will get bogged down, because Azerbaijan and the Caucasus are logistical nightmares. And Turkmenistan, quite possibly even worse. That creates a situation the Soviet planners fear of the Red Army being in force, distracted, fighting a protracted war on a different front, which would give Western Europe time to mass and push east. Especially since in this period you've had the attempted revolutions in the Warsaw Pact, and the Soviets are sort of, can we rely on our marches and bulwarks in the West to give us time to mobilize and redeploy? Or will the Poles have a revolution when we're distracted and suddenly smash a hole in our defences? Or will the Czechs do it? Or will the Hungarians try again? Or will the Romanians try again? Or will Yugoslavia decide to pull a funny and throw hands with Bulgaria, like they've been trying to do for the past 20 years? And it's a case of the Soviets don't want to get involved in that sort of protracted war against the military like Iran. Because that's how you get American troops taking Moscow in their idea. Or that's how you get Chinese troops in Vladivostok.
Yeah. Slayer, I'm sorry, but well, yes, you are right. F-14 wipes MiG-23. The Iranians wiped the first squadron. Maybe the second. Maybe the third. But oh, look, it's some MiG-25s and 31s with actual BVR. Bye.
It's not even that, it's a mass question.
Like, yeah, I just wanted to bring up the...
Yeah, it's a case of F-14 good, F-15 good. Red Air Force in such mass that the US Air Force thinks it's a pair. And will be able to deny US Air Force operations in Europe.
Yeah.
Iran does not have the same mass as the US Air Force.
Yeah. Anyway, on that bombshell, that brings us to the end. For those who, yeah, I was only going to go for 2 hours.
I don't know. That sounds lame.
I just, I've got.
Another hour. Fleet, you're going to the mines.
No, I want to do fucking post rambling.
You want to do Stell?
Yeah, I'm going to do post ramblings game night. Damn it, woman, be consistent.
No, she forgot she had other commitments.
What about your question? I guess it's not getting answered, Slayer?
One Slayer's question we'll answer quickly.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't get special treatment. Either because
he does because he's my friend.
No, that's not how it works. If he doesn't get if Slayer gets special treatment, everyone else has to get.
Explain it to Slayer.
Has to get special
Pretty
treatment.
much.
Slayer, I like you. You're my good buddy, but you can't get special treatment.
We will answer your question. Fleet will not.
Oh, by the way, also, Moe Foxer needs a picture of the armored car you made.
I also need some edits to it. I need you to take out the 1-inch machine gun.
Yeah. Okay.
And what about the whole 76 deal that Rust had mentioned? Oh, that wing come off.
I think he backtracked on letting me have the 76 how.
Anyway, as I was saying, I'm sorry, Slayer, but nobody gets special treatment. We're done for the day.
Just send it to us, Slayer. We'll explain it to you.
Yeah, repost the question. We'll answer it as best as we can without Fleet.
Right. Thanks everyone for coming. Take care. I'll see you, for those of you who are Twitch enjoyers, I'll see you all tomorrow for the, probably be Rule the Waves or, it depends if I'm feeling boaty, it'll be Rule the Waves. If I'm feeling trainy, it'll be Transport Fever. And then on Sunday, it'll be a community stream of something, probably something small like Men of War or Wargame Red Dragon or something that's a one and done, basically. Rather than a continual thing that goes on and on and on and on and on. Right, I will rename this to where is it?
Let's guide to us to surviving coups. Sponsored by Fleet of Oceans.
Don't we need to, get Danagus and such, Foxo?
Anyway, take care, everyone, and I'll catch you all later.